I'm 97 years old, and I need to tell you something that's going to make you uncomfortable. Not because it's complicated, because it's simple. So simple you've been ignoring it your whole life. The same way I ignored it for 60 years. And by the time you understand what I'm about to say, some of the people you love most will already be gone. Not because they died, because they left. Because you gave them nothing to stay for. I was a carpenter, spent my whole life building things with my hands. Tables, chairs, cabinets, porches. I could measure a joint down to 1/16 of an inch. I could look at a piece of oak and tell you exactly what it wanted to become. But I couldn't look at my own daughter and tell her I loved her. Not once. Not a single time in 24 years. And before you judge me, before you sit there thinking you're different, let me ask you something. When was the last time you said something real to someone who matters? Not love you thrown over your shoulder on the way out the door. Not a heart emoji on a text message. I mean something real. Something that cost you something to say. Something that made your throat tight and your hands shake. If you can't remember, then you and I have more in common than you'd like to admit. And if this is reaching you at the right time, I'm going to ask you a small favor. Subscribe to this channel and hit that like button. Not for me. I'm 97. I don't need followers. But somewhere out there, there's a man just like I was, sitting in his silence, convinced it's enough. And maybe this story finds him before it's too late. I grew up in Collinwood, Tennessee, small town. Everybody knew everybody. My father, Richard Calloway, was a good man by every measure that mattered back then. He worked, he provided. He didn't drink, didn't gamble, didn't raise his voice. And he never, not once in my entire life, told me he loved me. Never told my mother either, at least not that I ever heard. And nobody thought that was strange. That's just how men were. You showed love by showing up, by putting food on the table, by fixing what was broken. Words were for women and preachers. I absorbed that like wood absorbs stain. It went so deep into me that I didn't even know it was there. It just became part of who I was. Eugene Calloway, quiet man, hard worker, good provider, says what needs saying and nothing more. I married my first wife, Louise, in 1953. I was 23. She was 21. Beautiful woman. Laughed with her whole body, the kind of laugh that made strangers in restaurants smile. She was everything I wasn't. Warm where I was steady. Open where I was closed. She'd say, "I love you," every morning, every night, and about 15 times in between. And I'd nod, or I'd say, "Yep," or I'd squeeze her hand, but I never said it back. Not the way she needed to hear it. She'd ask me sometimes, "Eugene, do you love me?" And I'd look at her like she'd lost her mind. I built her a house. I worked 6 days a week. I came home every night. What did she think all that was for? She stopped asking after a while. I thought that meant she understood. I was wrong. She didn't understand. She just gave up. We had 2 girls. Caroline came in 55, Margaret in 58. I loved those girls more than I loved breathing. I loved them so much it scared me. And because it scared me, I did what my father did. I worked, I provided, I showed up, and I kept my mouth shut. I taught them how to ride bikes by running beside them with my hand on the seat. I drove 2 hours in a snowstorm to pick Caroline up from a school trip when she got sick. I sat outside Margaret's bedroom door all night when she had the flu because I was afraid her fever would spike. But I never said why. I never said, I'm here because losing you is the only thing in this world that terrifies me. I just sat there, quiet, present, invisible. Caroline was the one who looked like me, but had her mother's fire. She talked too fast and felt too much, and she wanted, more than anything, for her father to talk back. She'd come into my workshop after school. I built furniture in the evenings, had a little shop behind the house. She'd sit on the workbench, legs swinging, and she'd tell me about her day, every detail, every friend, every small drama of being a girl in a small town in Tennessee. And I'd listen. I always listened. But listening isn't the same as responding, and responding isn't the same as connecting. She'd ask me questions. Daddy, are you proud of me? And I'd say, hand me that chisel. She'd say, Daddy, do you think I'm smart? And I'd say, you left the light on in the hallway. Not because I didn't think she was smart, not because I wasn't proud. I was so proud of her, it made my chest ache. But the words, those specific words she needed, they got stuck somewhere between my heart and my throat. Every single time. There was a wall inside me, built brick by brick, over 23 years of watching my father love us in silence. And I didn't know how to tear it down. I didn't even know it was there. 1978, October. I remember because the leaves were turning and the shop smelled like fresh-cut cedar. I'd been working on a rocking chair, white oak, hand-carved spindles. My best work. I was going to give it to Caroline for her apartment. She'd just moved to Nashville, first place on her own, 24 years old. I was proud of her. Of course I was. I just hadn't mentioned it. I came inside that evening, and Louise was sitting at the kitchen table with a piece of paper in her hand. Her face was wrong. That's the only way I can describe it. Everything about her face was wrong. She handed me the letter without saying anything. Caroline's handwriting. I can still see it. Blue ink, slightly slanted, the way she always wrote, too fast for her own hand to keep up. Dear Mom and Dad, I love you both so much it hurts. But I can't keep having a conversation with someone who won't talk back. I've spent 24 years trying to get Dad to say something real to me. Something that tells me he sees me. And I know he loves me. I know it in my head. But my heart doesn't know it, because he's never told my heart directly. I'm moving to Portland. I need distance. I need to stop waiting for words that aren't coming. Please don't be angry. I'm not angry. I'm just tired. I read that letter standing in my kitchen, sawdust still on my shirt, the smell of cedar still on my hands, and I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I didn't do anything. I folded the letter, set it on the counter, and went back out to the shop. I sat in that unfinished rocking chair, the one I'd been building for her, and I stared at the wall for 3 hours. 3 hours. And in those 3 hours, do you know what I felt? Nothing I could name. That was the problem. I had feelings so big, they'd been compressed into something unrecognizable, like a star that collapses in on itself. All that fire, all that heat, crushed down into something so dense that no light, escapes. Here's the lie I believed for 60 years. Here's the lie I think you believe too. If you really love someone, they know it. You don't have to say it. That's the most dangerous sentence in the English language. Because it sounds true, it feels true. It lets you off the hook completely. You get to feel all the love you want, bask in it, wrap yourself in it, without ever taking the risk of actually expressing it. And meanwhile, the people you love are starving. They're sitting right next to you, starving for a word, a sentence, a moment of emotional honesty. And you're sitting there, full, convinced that your fullness is somehow feeding them. It's not. Love that stays inside you is just a feeling. It doesn't become real until it leaves your mouth, until it costs you something, until you look someone in the eye and say the terrifying, naked, unprotected truth. I need you. I'm proud of you. I'm afraid of losing you. You're the best thing I ever did. My silence wasn't strength. It was cowardice, dressed up in flannel and work boots. And if you're sitting there nodding, if something in your chest just tightened, then you already know you're doing the same thing I did. Where are you right now? What city? What town? I ask because I think about all the different kitchen tables and living rooms and bedrooms where someone might hear this. And I wonder how many of you are sitting close to someone you love right now. Someone who's waiting for you to say something you've never said. Let me tell you what I learned. And I'm going to say it plain because I don't have time for anything else. First thing, silence is not neutral. You might think saying nothing is safe, that it avoids conflict, avoids vulnerability, avoids risk. But silence is a message, and the person receiving it gets to decide what it means, and they will almost never decide it means love. Your wife asks if you're happy and you say, "I'm fine." She hears, "I don't want to talk to you." Your son asks if you're proud of him, and you change the subject. He hears, "You're not enough." You think you're being steady. They think you're being cold. And they're not wrong to think that, because from where they're standing, cold and steady look exactly the same. Second thing, saying I love you is not a one-time event. I know men especially who think they said it at the wedding, and that should cover it. Like love is a contract you sign once. It's not. It's a garden you water every single day, or it dies. And it dies quietly, so quietly you don't notice until you're standing in a field of dead things, wondering what happened. Louise died in 1989. Lung cancer took her in 4 months. At the end, I sat by her bed and I finally said it. "I love you, Louise. I've always loved you." And she smiled at me, this tired, sad smile, and she said, "I know, Eugene. I just wish you'd told me when I could still enjoy it." That sentence has lived inside me for 36 years. It will live inside me until I die. Third thing, an apology has an expiration date. Not officially. You can technically apologize at any time, but the power of an apology, the healing it can do, that diminishes every single day you wait. I apologized to Caroline eventually. Took me 11 years after that letter. 11 years. She was 35 by then, married, had a little boy of her own. And when I finally said the words, when I finally sat across from her in a diner in Portland and said, "I'm sorry I never told you what you meant to me," she cried. But it was a complicated kind of crying. relief and grief, all mixed together. She said, "Daddy, I forgave you a long time ago, but I built my whole life around not needing to hear it. That's what waiting costs you. The person forgives you, but they've already learned to live without you. The door is open, but the room has been rearranged. Fourth thing, people don't wait forever. This is the one that'll keep you up at night, if you let it. The people who love you, the ones who keep reaching out, keep trying to connect, keep asking you to open up, they will eventually stop. Not because they stopped loving you, because they got tired, because they protected themselves the only way they knew how, by expecting nothing. Margaret, my younger daughter, she stopped trying when she was about 30. Just quietly stopped. She still calls on holidays, still sends a card on my birthday, but the light in her eyes when she looks at me, that hopeful, searching light that used to ask, "Will today be the day he says something real?" That light went out 20 years ago. And I watched it go. I watched it go, and I did nothing. Because even then, even knowing what I'd already lost with Caroline, I couldn't break the pattern. The wall was too thick. The habit was too deep. The fear was too old. Fifth thing, and this is the one I want you to carry with you. Vulnerability doesn't destroy respect, it builds it. I spent my whole life thinking that if I opened my mouth and let people hear what was really inside me, they'd think less of me, that my wife would see me as weak, that my daughters would lose their sense of security, that somehow my silence was a gift I was giving them. It wasn't a gift. It was a cage. And it locked us all inside. The bravest thing I ever did wasn't building a business or raising a family or surviving 2 wives and 97 years on this earth. The bravest thing I ever did was sitting in that diner with Caroline when I was 65 years old, my hands shaking around a cup of coffee and saying 5 words I should have said 1,000 times. "I am proud of you." 5 words. That's all it took. 5 words and 65 years of unnecessary silence. I'm 97 now. Caroline is 69. She lives in Oregon still. She calls me every Wednesday evening at 6 o'clock. We talk for about an hour. Real talk, not weather talk, not news talk. She tells me about her life, and I tell her about mine. And sometimes I say things that would have been impossible for me 40 years ago. I tell her I miss her. I tell her she's the best part of me. I tell her I'm sorry it took so long. And every Wednesday, when we hang up, I sit in my chair, this old rocking chair I finally finished and kept for myself. And I think about all the years of silence, all the conversations I could have had, all the moments I let pass because I was too afraid to open my mouth and be human. Margaret and I never fully recovered. She's kind to me. She's dutiful. But that light never came back. And I have to live with that. I have to live with knowing that my silence cost me something I can never rebuild. And that's the thing I want to burn into your mind right now. The cost of silence is not nothing. The cost of silence is everything. It's your daughter moving across the country because your love was invisible. It's your wife dying without ever hearing the words she needed. It's your son growing up thinking he wasn't enough because you never told him he was. It's every relationship you have, slowly, quietly, imperceptibly, dying of starvation. while you sit there, full of love, saying nothing. I'm running out of time. I can feel it, the way you feel, weather changing, something in the air, something in my bones. And I don't want to leave this world without saying this as clearly as I can. If you love someone, open your mouth. Right now. Today. Not tomorrow. Not when it feels right. Not when you're ready. You will never be ready. Readiness is just another word for delay. Pick up the phone. Walk into the next room. Look them in the eye. And say the thing you've been carrying. Say it badly. Say it awkwardly. Say it with your voice cracking and your hands trembling. It doesn't have to be poetry. It just has to be true. Because I promise you, with every single one of my 97 years, the words you don't say will haunt you longer than any words you ever could. Don't be like me. Don't sit in a rocking chair at 97, full of love, surrounded by silence. And if this old man's story made you feel something tonight, if even one sentence lodged in your chest, then do me one last thing. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe so these words keep reaching people before it's too late. Because that's all I have left to give now. Just words. The same words I was too afraid to use for 60 years. Don't waste yours.